Hey everybody, Tekking101 here. I am sorry for the delay. You ever have those moments in your life where everything goes wrong every single day, no matter what you do, and it's completely out of your hands? No? Really? Not a single person? Huh. So everything goes your way all the time. Wow, that must be awesome. I must have forgotten to get the memo or something on that. Okay. Anyway, this will be chapter number 109, titled Rescue Maneuvers. Spoiler alert, they have none. Okay, so the chapter starts off with Mara going over the rules of the second stage of the provisional license exam, which, by the way, is also the last stage. I mean, that's just breaking freaking shonen logic right there. I mean, what shonen action series has an arc where you go and take a test, and the entire main cast is part of it, and it only lasts 2 stages? Imagine if the Chunin exam in Naruto only lasted 2 stages, then we could get to the other arcs quicker. Who would want that? And, oh, Hunter x Hunter, can you imagine if the Hunter exam only lasted 2 freaking trials? I actually do, because I've been trying to read Hunter x Hunter for years, and I just managed to pass the Hunter exam like a few months ago, because I just could not get through it. Whatever. Anyway, everyone's just kind of looking on and trying to figure out what they mean by rescuing bystanders, and I think they don't really bring up the whole incident with the USJ arc, which I feel like they should have. I feel like that's the first thing they could jump to. Like, wait a second, weren't we supposed to learn all this rescue shit back then when all the villains attacked or whatever? But they seem pretty nonchalant about it for the most part. So the people that are going to be involved in the rescue operation are, of course, the elderly people and the little kids that we saw a few chapters back, and these people are actually ones that have already passed the provisional license exam before, so they are in a sense heroes, but they don't really operate as heroes. They operate as professional rescuers. Yeah, alright, let me go in to see how this works. Basically, there's this corporation out there called the HUC, or the Help Us Company! And basically, they loan out these, like, professional rescuers to various organizations. In this case, it's the Health and Safety Committee that Mara's a part of, or I guess, to, you know, the one that's putting on this license exam, whoever's sponsoring it. And their job is to pretend to be injured, pretend to be in distress, and teach heroes how to rescue, like, a proper methods of rescuing people, which is actually, you know, at first I'm reading this and I'm like, that's a really stupid company, but I started to think, hey, actually, that's actually a really good move, because imagine if you're in a disaster scenario, you know, you're a hero going through and trying to find people, you know, the people that are hurt, they're not going to be able to tell you what to do. They're not going to be able to be like, oh yeah, just make sure to check my head first for any kind of trauma, and then maybe search out for any sort of ambulance or something like that. Like, they're not going to be able to do that. You got to decide on this at the time, so you got to learn how to go about it, and this is a really good way. So these old dudes, they all have like fake blood, they're splattering on themselves and everything, and they're all getting disheveled and wrecked, and like, alright, I'll just find this piece of rubble to crush my spleen under. You know, this is a real disaster scenario they're working with here. Remember, this was a huge city kind of model they were doing the first stage, and they just blew the fuck up, and now it's just like, terrorist bombing happened, a bunch of people are injured, you need to go and help them, you're the heroes, be a hero. So with that being said, they said the exam's going to start very soon, and that they're going to be awarded points depending on just how they do, how effective they are as heroes and rescue, and the people that they're rescuing are actually going to be grading them. So that's how this system is going to go. We don't exactly get like a point value or anything like that, like you get this many points if you do a successful rescue, or if you fail you get this much, but you have more than one option to try to rescue people, as we're going to see later in the chapter. So we cut back to the anteroom. There's a brief waiting period before the second trial begins. Izuku's there wondering if they're modeling this whole thing after the Camino Ward incident, you know, the incident where the big, you know, warehouse was destroyed, and you had the epic balls-out battle between All Might and All For One. I really wish I was reviewing it back then. I mean, this was right around the time Bleach was winding down, but I kind of really wish I would have been around when All Might was fighting All For One, because that was such a goddamn awesome battle. Oh, All Might's probably gonna die at some point in the series. Okay, anyway, they're just discussing, like, hey, we should go ahead, we should do this, you know, best we can, or whatever like that. And then Sero goes up to Mineta, and Kaminari, and he explains to them what happened with Izuku and Shiketsu girl. I love how we still do not know her name, but anyway, they bring up like, oh man, did you should have seen freaking Izuku. He was hanging out with this freaking Shiketsu girl with the bodysuit, and then she lost the bodysuit, and she was naked, and she was striking like erotic poses, and her and Izuku were hanging out behind freaking rocks. It was awesome. You should have been there, you know. And Mineta, of course, the reaction is from him, what the fuck, Midoriya? What the actual fuck, man? And so they go over to him, they just start barraging him with questions. Kaminari's like grabbing his hair, just like, what the hell? You could tell us every single thing that happened. I want to hear every detail. How many holes did you put it in? But yeah, they're trying to, you know, question him, and the funny thing is they all look over at the Shiketsu girl, who does nothing to, like, try to pretend like it didn't happen. It's not like she's just like, what are you talking to me, loser? Don't even look over here. No, they look over at Shiketsu girl, and she just kind of waves at Mineta. I think it's supposed to be a cutesy little, like, hey, how you doing? But in this panel, it just looks creepy as fuck. It's just like if I'm in public, and someone points at me, and I see this, I will be running as far as I can in the opposite direction. I want nothing to do with that person. But apparently here it's like really erotic. So Mineta and Kaminari just chastise Izuku all the more. Meanwhile, Izuku's like, come on, dude, man up a little bit. He's just like, no, please. I wasn't behind a rock with a sexy naked girl. Like, you gotta, like, okay, Izuku, look. If there's ever a time in your life, I know you kind of got the thing with Ochako right now, but if there's ever a time in your life you're going to make really stupid decisions involving girls, it's when you're a teenager, alright? You don't get that many mulligans when you're an adult like me, okay? You gotta make shit happen right now, okay? So you see a girl creepily flirting with you, you should creepily flirt back, I'd imagine. You see her doing this? You should go and do this. Hey. You know, that'll probably get something going on in this weird freaking scene. I don't know. Anyway, a couple of the other Shiketsu kids rock out from the other side of the ante-room. They all go and confront the UA kids. And one of them is the cousin it-looking dude, the guy that's completely covered in head to toe in fur. It kind of looks like something out of like Where the Wild Things Are or something. And he comes up to Bakugo and he's like, hey, you fought against Shishikura, the processed meat, you know, beefcake dude with the squinty eyes. And still racist, by the way, but Bakugo's like, yeah, I fought against that jackass, kicked his ass, wasn't really hard. And then Kaminari chimes in like, oh, didn't I kick his ass? Oh, no, I kicked his ass, Kaminari, totally kicked his ass. And then, what's up, what's going on? And apparently, and I don't know if this is bullshit, this may contain a trace amount of bullshit, but the hairy dude was like, we actually want to establish a decent relationship with UA, and kids like, you know, Shishikura were kind of messing up. He was trying to, like, impose his, like, philosophy and his ideals on you, which is what that entire fight was. It's like, this is the way you must fight. My way is the correct way, because it's my way, you know, that bullshit. So he's like, yeah, don't worry about him, Shishikura's freaking stupid, he doesn't represent all of us, so that's all I wanted to say, basically. And I don't know, I mean, because the whole idea with this thing, for years now, with the provisional license exam, has been the UA hunting. Like, the first thing every school does is, like, dogpile on UA, kick their ass, because we know all the stuff about them from, like, the sports festival, because they're the most famous. And then all of a sudden, this dude and all the other Shiketsu High kids are there, and none of them have mouths for whatever reason. I was actually reading this chapter when it first came out. I was in one of my classes. We were waiting for class to start, and I was on my laptop reading through this. And my one friend Tyler, who knows nothing about manga or anything, he looks over and he's interested in what I'm reading. And so I tell him what I'm reading, and it happened to be this panel. And he just looks at this and he's like, "How come none of them have mouths?" I'm like, oh, that was just like a really, and I'm like scrolling down the page, like that was just one scene. Oh wait, no, okay, no, I guess these guys just don't have mouths. I don't know what to tell you. But anyway, yeah, they basically tell them that's all we wanted to say. You know, we want to have good relations with you guys. So later, Todoroki then steps up and brings up, okay, and I'm glad he's referencing this now. I'm glad he's not like waiting until like chapters from now to you know, figure out what's going on here with Inaba, the kid with the giant, you know, M. Bison costume with the wind quirk. He just goes right up to freaking Inaba and he's like, hey dude, what the fuck were you giving me the stink eye earlier? Like, what did I ever fucking do to you, you know? And Inaba just turns over and he's just like, oh, and he strikes the same death glare and he's like, oh, you're Endeavor's kid, aren't you? Well, I don't know how to tell you this, but I just hate you both. I mean, like, you look a little bit different than he used to, but your eyes are still the same as him, so, basically what I'm trying to get across here is like father, like son. Yeah, basically, it's like, okay, so something happened with him in Endeavor. Probably, if we're going with the basic cliches and tropes here, probably something happened with Inaba's parents involving Endeavor, and that made him hate Endeavor. And because Todoroki's Endeavor's child, of course that means they're exactly the same. Spoiler, they're not. And Inaba's like, I hate you both because you had the gall to be his sperm and develop into his child. So therefore, I just hate you. Although he does bring up, like, your demeanor seems to be a little different than his, which, of course, Todoroki felt like, you know, he's not the same guy as Endeavor, not the same. He was afraid he was going to be, and, you know, that's the reason he didn't use the firepower for so long, but he's kind of been coming into his own ever since the sports festival arc. But, yeah, so that's the reason Todoroki and Inaba, they're probably going to fight, and they're probably going to have a really intense battle there. We're probably going to find out more about what happened. Inaba's probably going to go on some spiel about how, like, my father's the third-ranked hero, and Endeavor stole the second spot away from him, and he did this nefarious shit. I don't know. We still don't know who the number 3 ranked hero is, and I feel like it's going to be somebody really powerful, of course. It's the third ranked hero. So if it was like Inaba's dad or something, and then maybe Endeavor like did some fucked up shit, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. But anyway, they all get ready to go to the second stage. Shiketsu Girl says, you know, see you later to Deku, who freaks out, and of course Minato and everybody jumps on them. So we cut over to Ochako, who witnessed the whole thing go down. Of course, Ochako is kind of in love with Izuku. No, not kind of. She's totally head over heels in love with the little dork. And she sees, like, Shiketsu Girl, and they having their little flirty banter back and forth, and Ochako feels something very weird happening in her boobs. I mean her heart, which is under her boobs. But yeah, she's 15. She's 15. But, you know, I would say, honestly, this is sort of an Ochako-based chapter, especially with what we're going to find out at the very end, if nothing else. And the thing here is that what Ochako, it kind of separates her from other main female leads, especially since, you know, most of the female leads that have, like, that get wet for the main character, you know, Ochako falls for Izuku, they might be trying to do something a little bit different with her character here. And now, keep in mind, they might be trying to do something different, and then it's going to just cycle back to just whatever way, like Ochako and Izuku are dating now. It's probably just going to cycle back to that, because from what she comes to, the realization, not a really good realization at the end of the chapter, but they're trying to do something maybe a little bit different from what most series do. But for the moment, she's about to say something to him, and it just gets cut off by the siren because it's now time to get it on! Second stage of the exam begins! So the entire anteroom just collapses, like all the walls fall down, and the students just rush out to try to save everybody there. We see Inaba off to the side there. We still don't know what his quirk is, but he's shooting out like a bunch of gusts of air or something to propel him forward. So it's probably a wind or air-based quirk. I can't really think of anything other than that, unless he's able to summon tornadoes out of his hands. I don't know. I guess that would still be wind, but kind of more of like an OP variation. We're going to find out all about that later. Probably not right now, you know, because this one's not really about fighting. That's the thing. It's not like a tournament or anything like that. This is just rescuing. If you waste your time fighting against other heroes, I mean, that's not something you would do in a rescue scenario. So maybe it's going to be like after the exam is over, and maybe everybody's getting ready to leave, and then Inaba's just like, let's fucking do this. And, you know, like, I don't know. But maybe it's going to happen later in the next arc. Maybe this is just like more like a mini arc just to kind of introduce these new characters from different schools. Maybe that's what we're going with here. But anyway, they all head out. They waste no time. Izuku, it looks like Izuku, Ochako, and Ida all run into a screaming child very quickly. It's the kid with the Roboy shirt on, and he's on the ground just, you know, letting out like these freaking ear-splitting cries, and he's bleeding from his head and everything. So Izuku runs up to him, and of course, absolutely no professional rescue training on Izuku's part at all. Runs over to him, and is just like, all right, what's going on, little boy? And the little boy's like, my grandfather's crushed behind a steel beam. You have to save him. And Izuku's like, oh my god, that's terrible. Okay, where is he? And then like immediately the kid just changes completely. He's just like, what the hell's that supposed to be, kid? Really? I was like, oh no, your grandfather. Really, dude? I'm a small child here, bleeding from my head, scrapes all over me, obviously distraught, and the best fucking thing you could come up with to console my adorable child heart is, oh my god, that's so terrible. You're phoning it in a little bit here, Izuku. Minus points for you. That's cool. So the kid, he's still kind of screaming. So I imagine with these facial expressions, which that's a great thing this mangaka does in terms of just, you know, pure, these kind of like angular facial expressions. I imagine this kid is just screaming this to Izuku, like when he's right in front of him, and Izuku's freaking out. It's like, oh, okay, I don't really know what to do here. We cut away to the other students. They're way more effective at this. The kid with the cousin it kid is able to use his hair to like lift debris and stuff. There's another kid that has like the ability of like gelatin that she can move her shit around. So apparently, the little kid, I mean, he doesn't walk Izuku through this. He doesn't like explain to him what you're supposed to do step by step, because that would be defeating the whole purpose. But Izuku does recall, he's like, hey, look, I haven't had any formal rescue training, but I have been watching All Might my entire life, and I've seen him rescue a shit ton of civilians. I've been there a few times. I've pissed my pants at these such events. So he remembers All Might, and he gives him inspiration into his heart. Like that one time he broke into USJ, and he's like, it's alright, for I'm here now. You know, that kind of shit. So Izuku, you know, slaps his face a couple times, he gets himself composed, and he's like, all of this is just part of chasing after my dreams. And he strikes admittedly not a creepy as face as the Shiketsu girl did earlier. This one is actually full of a lot of confidence, because that's what you're trying to do. When you see a kid who's lost their parents or grandparents and is obviously distraught, you know, if you look distraught on your face, if you look like you're concerned or worried, like you have no idea what you're doing, the kid's not going to be, you know, the kid's not going to be really consoled all that much. The kid wants to look up and see somebody that is actually certain of themselves. Like, it's like, it's okay, it's all right, I got this, I'm going to get you out of here, you're going to be okay, your parents are going to be okay, everything's going to be fine, okay? They don't want a hint of fear in those eyes, you know? So Izuku strikes a smile, very similar to All Might, and it's like, it's All Might! I mean, all right, it's all right. And so the kid kind of resets, and he's just like, okay, we're going to try this again. So Izuku probably still lost points, but they're going to give him a second chance, I guess. So the kid just starts screaming again, like, over there, my grandpa! And he's like, it's all right, we'll definitely find him, little kid, it's cool. And so he's checking him to make sure he's wounded. Once again, Izuku has no formal training in the medical field, like, okay, how to properly move somebody that's suffering a head wound, you know, just like if I was in this situation and I see a kid, like, bleeding from the head, I would just kind of be like, huh, yeah, that's a pretty big gash there. What am I supposed to do in this situation? Probably gonna need stitches, I guess. Does anyone have some peroxide? Like, I would have nothing. I would have no idea how to handle this situation. But anyway, he's like, oh yeah, we'll get you first aid, I guess, you know, if you don't have severe freaking, you know, brain hemorrhage growing on. And he just picks up the kid, and he's like, okay, you guys, all the other UA kids, like Minata and Ida, you go and try to save his grandpa. And meanwhile, Izuku picks up the kid and runs to the first aid area, and he just keeps saying the same thing over and over again, like, it's all right, it's all right, it's all right. And the kid's like, is that all you can say, man? Come on, think of something else. Minus points for you. Anyway, this is where we get to the end of the chapter, and this is where we get to the scene on Ochako. So Ochako, she's kind of dazing out here, in the middle of this exam, by the way. She's dazing out, and she's remembering all those moments that people have confronted her about Izuku. How that time they were in the test arc between the teachers, and she was teamed up with Aoyama, and Aoyama and her were fighting against 13, and he's like, you love Izuku, don't you? And that scene with Ashido in the dorms, like, it's love, isn't it? And Ochako's like, these feelings, like, what am I doing? Like, what the fuck? I'm in the middle of this freaking exam. This is serious. I gotta worry about myself here. I'm so concerned about Izuku instead, you know? And she's kind of coming to terms with these feelings, but at the same time, she's just like, I've got to do my best here. I've got to do, I can't focus on this all the time. I can't keep focusing on him. It's going to be a massive distraction for me to try to become a professional hero if I'm worrying about, you know, Deku's D the entire time, basically. So she's like, these feelings, I've got to shut them down. Now, Ochako, not a good idea to do that when, you know, because it's obvious that she has feelings for him. It's very obvious. So not a very good idea just to be like, I'm just going to repress those feelings and everything will be fine. It's going to come back to be a very emotional scene. It's going to be like Ochako's going to be like this for a little while. And then, like, a few dozen chapters from now, I could see her just, like, breaking down crying over this, so don't do that to yourself, girl, please. But it does, you know, sort of separate her from, like, other main characters, you know, like, let's go, you know, for Neverworld already made this comparison, but let's look at Sakura from Naruto. You know, Sakura, the entire first arc of Naruto, basically, she was a pretty talented ninja, but the entire time she was just like, Sasuke-chan, Sasuke-chan, oh, sorry, Sasuke-kun, sorry, Sasuke-kun, Sasuke-kun, you know, and you have to sit back and think, like, okay, bitch, you're training to be a ninja, and yet you're way more focused on Sasuke. Even Kakashi brought that up. And just be like, this is what makes Ochako different. She's like, okay, I want to be a hero. But what is this? I'm being distracted. But no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm here to be a hero. You know, my parents put a lot of money for me to go to this school, and I'm going to waste it on... No, I'm doing this. So, once again, very determined face on Ochako. So, right at the moment, she's very resolute, but I think this is going to come to blow back up in her face later. Last scene is, we see Mera there, and he's like, now then, it goes without saying, you know, the ordinary methods won't be enough here. So I guess he's referring to, like, the ordinary rescue methods, because these people are probably going to be more difficult, going to be more interesting situations, more difficult than just standard, you know, stuff that Izuku was doing, which is okay, I guess, because, like I said, the UA kids had no prior rescue training at all. So, okay, the normal methods won't work much here. I'm like, all right, well, time to get clever. Time to get a little imaginative here, guys. You need to start thinking up some new ideas here. But we'll find out in the next chapter. Maybe we'll focus a lot more on the other UA kids that we didn't get to see a lot of focus on last time. Like Tsuyu. We didn't really focus on Tsuyu or Momo that much in the last one, or Todoroki really that much for that matter. So maybe we'll focus more on those guys for this trial, and we'll see who gets out of here alive. Well, not alive, but we'll see who passes. And the last scene, though, we see an entry, like a foot, just, you know, they did the Kubo thing, where it's like a shadowy foot emerges, and it's like, I don't know if this is to imply that, like, somebody is arriving on the scene that shouldn't be there, you know? Because if it was just, like, a normal student, like, why would you bother putting, like, the shoe there? Like it's a mysterious, shadowy figure. Like, if it's just, like, Inaba, you know, approaching Todoroki, then why would it have to be in shadows, you know? Like, I don't know. Why would it have to be ambiguous? Then again, it is just for cliffhanger's sake, maybe, but I don't know, but odds are it's probably just going to be another student, maybe one we haven't seen yet. Yeah, so anyway, thanks you guys for watching this video. Once again, apologize for the delay. What do you think will happen in the next chapter of My Hero Academia? And how many more chapters do you think we have left of this arc? I think this is, like I said, I think this is going to be somewhat more of like a short arc, just to kind of introduce more characters. Not all of the UA kids are going to pass, I can guarantee that much. At least a few are going to fail. And after this, we'll move on to the next part of the story, which will maybe be something that involves all of like the Shiketsu kids and the Ketsubutsu High kids and everything like that. Maybe there'll be a bigger thing involving all these schools teaming up or something like that. That would be pretty cool. And then we could see the confrontations between like Inaba and Todoroki and maybe Shinso and from other classes. That would be interesting. Well, anyway, thanks for watching, guys. This will be Tekking101 signing out.